So good evening. Yesterday, um, we was getting on a tangent about releasing all expectations on meeting our loved one who's either circumstances, we've been adopted, we're meeting our birth parents, circumstances, our parents have been incarcerated for plenty of years and now they're released. Circumstances where we've had just a plain outright absentee parent and now we're grown up and they're back in our lives. And where do we go from here? Like, where do we go from here? So last time we did like this homework on getting rid of all of our expectations before meeting those loved ones, before reconnecting. And you have to wonder, did your expectations, did you meet them? If you kept them, I for sure wouldn't have kept any expectations at this point. But you have to get over all those expectations because at one point you're wanting them to be the mother and father that you've always wanted them to be when you were younger. They're wanting you to be the daughter or son that they've always wanted you to be. And they're going to try to start parenting from now. And you have to realize with these expectations, you have parents who want to start parenting at 21, 22, all the way up in their 30s and 40s when you're already an adult. And the most important age group that should have been parenting is gone now. Whether it was their choice to leave and remove themselves of being your parent, the one who trains you up in the way that you should go, or whether it was by an unforeseen decision like abduction or kidnapping or, you know, switched at birth, whatever, what have you. Bad marriage. But when you get older, you're going to have these expectations and you have to realize that your relationship is going to start now. I don't need to bring up the past of how it was when we was together then. You don't need to bring up the past of how and when we was together then. This type of relationship can be toxic, especially because when both parties come in with their expectations on how relationships should be, you get toxicities. You get emotional detachments. You get high levels of anxiety due to every party on both sides trying to connect, but they're connecting with how they expect it to be and not how it is. And that's where you have this disconnect, because 9 times out of 10 both parties are expecting you to be in the image that they have thought of you to be for so long. So when you're not raised from the South, or you're not raised from your birth country or whatever, you have that disconnect with dialogue. You have that disconnect with your language if you're a foreigner. If you're from Indonesia, Asia, Africa, Italy, Mexico, Guatemala, when you are being raised by something else and you try to reconnect, It's going to take the time because you're going to have that language barrier. And language barriers are not always the fact that you don't speak the same language like Spanish, Swahili, Italian, Mandarin. Not just those language barriers, but language barriers as dialect. They don't understand your colloquial euphemisms. They don't understand the way you talk or how you talk or different catchphrases that mean something else and they take it as offensive. So it becomes a big disconnect over the smallest little things because they get offended. They can't connect. And when we get a disconnect over our expectations, we start to disperse. We start to spread out. We start to distance ourselves from each other because we feel like we failed because we can't connect. When in fact, you haven't failed. I haven't failed. They haven't failed. It's not about failing as it is trying to connect. And you cannot connect with your expectations. You have to connect with your heart. You have to take time. You cannot rush the other person to feel the same way you feel. Whether life had so many ups and downs, you have to realize that just because you divorced their mom or you divorced their dad, that was your decision. Or they divorced you and you left. That was your decision. That was something that should have been made between parents. Do not blame your decisions and your actions on your kids. Okay, you went to jail. You went to prison. You was at the wrong place the wrong time and you went to prison for something that you didn't do. You was a getaway person. You was whatever it could be. But you cannot bring that hurt and that pain to a relationship with your kids because they are not welcoming that hurt and that pain. They are not even understanding that because that was your decision, your choice, whatever you did or didn't do. That's on you. You cannot carry that to a neutral zone where you're trying to reconnect. And vowing to reconnect with your kids is something that I'm pretty sure 10 times out of 10, if you're reconnecting with someone who's been out of your life for forever, it is going to be like the feel of the death of you. Like you are going to feel like you are in an emotionally abusive relationship. Like you cannot catch a break. You're disconnecting. They're disconnecting. They don't understand you. You don't understand them. Both of y'all are bringing your expectations to the table. None of y'all want to get rid of your expectations of each other. And y'all are just butting heads. And it shouldn't even be that way. But usually in the first year, you're going to butt heads. You're going to not understand that other person because you don't know them. They're foreign to you. They're a foreign object. You don't know them. They don't know anything about you. They probably know of you. They know pictures. They probably seen pictures. You probably seen pictures of them. They probably heard stories of you. You probably heard stories of them. Maybe you've told them stories about yourself and they've, told you stories about themselves, but it's still just a story. It doesn't become real to each other until there's a genuine connection with each other. There's no way that I'm going to be able to tell this story about how to connect with him if I don't know how to. And you do not want to rush, especially saying, I love you to the parent or child who you have not been a part of their life and they have not been a part of yours. Because rushing those key words can be detrimental to your relationship. It could push y'all further and further apart. Remember, this is all part of those expectations that you bring in those first moments of reconnecting or connecting at all. And you cannot bring that baggage with you. You just can't. You can't. You cannot bring all of that. First, what you do, you just get rid of all of your expectations. I'm going to go in as if this is the first date, like we talked about before. Like I just meeting him. Even if you have to start off with the basics. Your favorite color, where do you go to high school, favorite food, morning or night person, favorite memory that you had when you was younger. What sports do you like? If you like sports, what music do you like? The basic stuff that you do on the first date. Take it all the way back to that time. Treat it like it's a first date. And then build on a loving and trusting relationship with each other. Because it's going to be hard if you don't. It's going to be hard to connect, hard to talk to each other. Find one thing that y'all have in common and start off with that. If both of y'all like football, whether you're a boy or a girl, girls can like sports too. If both of y'all like football, start talking about your favorite sports games. Watch football together. Or if y'all long distance from each other, get on the phone. And both of your teams are playing each other, or y'all have the same team. Watch it, watch it on the phone together. Skype each other. See how their reactions are. If you're meeting in a public place, take them to a movie that both of y'all want to see. They can start observing how you react to different movies, how you react in stores, what's your taste in clothes. The best part to me about reconnecting is getting into a neutral zone where you're not sitting at the house and reconnecting, where you're feeling like all of these butterflies because you don't know, and then you really want to start babbling about your expectations of each other. And you don't want to do that. So I would get into a public place, like go to the mall. That is a good point. Go to the mall together. Find out what his or her favorite fragrance is. What they used to do at the mall together when they were kids. What did you used to do when you was a kid at the mall? Talk about those times. Observe other people, families in the mall. Does the parent like to jank? Which in the South, this means tell jokes about other people. So you do like an observation of other people. Y'all both sit on the bench in the mall. You watch the families go by. You watch the kids throw a tantrum in the store. The kids crying. The couples, walking around holding hands. The teenagers in the clothes that I'm pretty sure they put on when they got in the mall bathroom. But Besides all of that, it is a time for you to reconnect with each other. Find out, okay, you see a little girl in a tube top and some low-rise jeans. He tells you what his parents would have thought about that if he had siblings or nieces or cousins. And you talk about what your parents would have done if they would have seen something like that happen. Little things to open up to. Something that you really don't have to talk about yourself. He or she doesn't have to talk about themselves. You learn more about each other because you start naturally talking about your life. You start naturally talking about, growing up without having to force it by observation. And if you plan on having this first meet and greet at your house, do it in the kitchen, or y'all can cook together, or dance, listen to some oldies if they like the 50s, if they like the 60s, if they like R&B, or they like jazz, or they like country, or they like soul, or they like hip hop, or they like rap. Just find a common ground and just dance. Let loose. Just be without expectations of the other person. Because expectations is only going to bring y'all more distress. And we're not trying to have any type of distress. We are trying to connect with someone we don't know. So we're all treating this like a first date. We're not saying I love you right after. I mean, they might want you to say that. And in some cases, people might feel like you owe them. You owe it to them to say you love them. Some of us, and right now I'm getting to a part that a lot of people are having right now, reconnecting with their loved ones, is what happens when you come across a loved one who feels like you are owed them, like you owe them something. Like, you're supposed to tell me you love me. You're supposed to buy me things. You're supposed to do this, that, and the third for me. You're supposed to go out there and buy me an expensive perfume or cologne because I am your parent. Or I'm your child because you ain't did crap for me my whole life. So now you better do it now. No. That's an expectation that's just going to push you further and further away from the person you're trying to connect to. Lose all those expectations of being owed, or someone feels like you owe them. I'm going to tell you one thing right now. You do not owe them a daggone thing. The only thing that they have right now that is due them is the time that we both set up that we're going to meet each other and we are going to observe each other. And that's the only thing I owe you, is the time I'm spending with you right now. There's no 30, 40 years of past due debt. There's no 20 years of past due birthday presents, past due Christmas presents. There's none of that. The time I owe you is now. Right now, while we're sitting in front of each other. And that is it. I don't owe you anything. You don't owe me anything. I don't want anything from the past. That's all I ask for my own parents, my own father. I don't owe you anything. You don't owe me anything. I'm not going to be forced to gift you anything. If I do, it's because it's something I'm excited to do. I get to do that. Let that be something I want to do, not a chore I have to do. And when things become so sacred like that, become chores you have to do, you struggle and you feel like it's a burden to do it, to the point that you don't even do it at all. Why waste my time buying them a gift when they feel like I owe it to them? I want something where I can just give it to you and be happy and look at the smile on your face that I was able to do something nice for you because it was something I am willing to do. And the key word here is will. You have to want to will to do something, not just do it because you feel like you're forced to, or that your relationship with the other person is going to disperse because you don't do it. That's not a relationship. That's not love. That's not agape love. That's not anything. That is just bringing more anxiety to the relationship than it needs to be. That is a start to an emotional toxic relationship where you feel like you're being emotionally abused by someone you don't even know, that you shouldn't even be feeling this way. And if you get to the point where all they feel like is that you owe them everything, you owe them your life, that you're supposed to do everything they say, back away. At this point, it's getting toxic. Leave it alone. Wait a couple of weeks, a month. If it gets really bad, wait a year. Take some time off. Breathe, child, breathe. Then heal. Then come back. Let's start this all over again. Get rid of all my expectations, and you get rid of all of your expectations. That's the only way we are going to vow to reconnect, is if we diminish our expectations and focus on the present. Focus on the now. Focus on what we are doing right now. Don't worry about any expectations of anything else. What are we doing now? So we got on the expectations. We got on the emotional abuse and not saying I love you too soon. Now the third thing we're going to talk about in vowing to reconnect with someone is being open. That they're human. Throw third and fourth. Being open and forgiveness. Which you have to be open to the point that they're human. You've made mistakes. Your parents make mistakes. But you can't always see them as your parent or your child. You have to see them as another human being who has flaws, who has insecurities, who has anxiety about meeting you, who's so open that they're broken. They're just an open heart surgery just waiting to happen. They're so open, they're broken. And we have to be that open to each other that we're able to help mend the emptiness inside of us that some of us may not have actually known that we had until we observe our own lives and realize that everything that we've been looking from a relationship standpoint, we've been needing from this other person. I've been looking, for things that you want your father to do. step in, be the protector, be the lover, be the one who wipes your tears away and stuff like that. So you look for that in people. And it's not always that you're actually looking like, oh my gosh, do you see what I see? Type monkey see, monkey do type looking. You could be subconsciously looking for that in people. Even if you've had other men raise you. They were probably great men. But you still are looking because it's not your father or your mother. And you might have raised all these kids trying to make up for you not being there for your child. But the fact of the matter is you're still looking. You're trying to put that puzzle back together with so many other lies and not realizing that the puzzle is still empty. It's still unfinished because it's not your child's life that you put back together. And you need to go back and reconnect and vow to stay connecting. I don't even care if you have to be AIM, AOL, broadband, where it takes forever to reconnect, where you had to hook up to the telephone line and you heard that most annoying sound that has now been passed on to the fax machine when you fax from your computer. But I don't care how long it takes to connect. You're not going to connect in 1 month, 2 months. Some might be a year, but even then depends on how many years y'all have been disconnected. It's going to take time. It's going to take patience. And I'm going to let you know, a lot of humans do not have patience. Patience is not a word that we humans really have, really want to have, really care to have. And after about 2 tries, we like, deuces, I'm out. I ain't fooling with this dude or this girl. You're dead to me. You ain't got to be a part of my life. I ain't got to be a part of your life. I don't care what you say. I'm grown. I don't want to do nothing that you got to say to me. And I the one had you. And you can't tell me nothing. I'm your parent. Well, all that is still expectations. There's still expectations that has to be knocked down. It's not going to be a 6 months. Okay, and I've never connected with you over the phone or through video call, and I'm supposed to talk to you as if nothing happened, as if the days has not even passed us by, and I'm supposed to connect with you. Things just don't happen that way. You have to realize it doesn't. And things will take time. So now you have losing your expectations. You have slowing down when it's time to commit to those 3 words. You have being open with the person. And then you have forgiving the person. Because the best thing to a healthy relationship is forgiveness. Forgiving them for not being there. Both parties. Forgiving the other person for not letting you in. Forgiving yourself for not being the parent that you wanted to be to them. For neglecting your child. For, not being who they wanted you to be. Not being the man that you wanted to be for yourself. Or the woman, the mother that you wanted to be for yourself. And the kids have to forgive themselves for, you know, not being as open. And also forgive their parents for not being there for them. And forgiveness is not an overnight thing either. Forgiveness is a daily proclamation every single day. Because there are going to be times where y'all are going to butt heads, have this big old fight, and then here you are again. Daily forgiveness. Forgiveness is not a, I say I forgive you and then I move on. Because in a split second, they can piss you off to the point where you're throwing up something back in their face again. And then you have to re-forgive yourself and re-forgive them. And forgiveness is daily, honey. It's something you're going to have to do every single day, second of your life. But we all can do it. We just have to let go of our expectations and learn how to breathe when reconnecting. Do you vow to reconnect? That's my time. I'll see you next time. Bye.